Now, as I already said to you earlier on in my previous video, death is too deep or too broad a subject to cover in just one video. In actual fact, even the personal relationship with death that you will experience, and without even bringing into this whole argument or consideration any other person, that is going to happen in further videos, but even just your personal relationship with death is something that cannot be covered in just one video, and I reckon I'll probably need 3 videos to do that. Now, I've already posted one video in which I said that death in effect is nothing to fear, because you will never be in a position where you can personally experience death. As long as you're alive, you're not dead, and you're therefore not experiencing death. And once you have died, you have ceased to exist, so you are not there to experience death, as Epicurus so perfectly pointed out. But what about the process? What about getting there, or getting nowhere? In fact, what about the dying? Many people are very worried about that, about the actual dying. They may not be worried about death, but the dying is something that they are very worried about and that they're not looking forward to. Now, first of all, I would urge you to consider that there are many different ways of dying, and who is to say that you will die in a process that involves an awful lot of suffering? So many people die in their sleep. You could be one of those lucky ones. We live in a society with medical advances that have ensured that a lot of us, at least we, the lucky ones who live in developed Western societies, can enjoy, if you want to call it that, a death that is helped, that is alleviated by good quality palliative care. And so many palliative carers describe the deaths of the people that they're caring for as being dignified, quiet, and peaceful. And that, again, is something that might happen to you. So I wouldn't, first of all, spend an awful lot of time worrying about the worst that could possibly happen. But then again, it could. So it is something that we need to look square in the face and see what that actually implies. Now, first of all, you could die in a horrific, sudden accident. Is that actually such a bad thing? Again, I'm talking about your personal perspective. I'm not talking about what this may mean for your loved ones and so on. That is a topic of a different video. But from your own personal perspective, you, if you are involved in a very sudden and unexpected accident, will not even get a chance to realize what's going on. By the time you would be in a position to realize what's going on, you have ceased to exist. You are dead. Right? So even that would not necessarily be such a terrible way to go. But I can hear you say, what about that last way of going? That the death that is accompanied by horrendous pain and suffering. What if you were to die in screaming agony? How terrible would that be? Well, let's put it this way. I certainly would not look forward to being in that moment in which you are enduring the screaming agony, in which you are suffering leading up to your death. But other than that, before that, you are just leading your life and you are not suffering. So you should just enjoy your life. But what's more, suffering, the sort of suffering that leaves you broken, that leaves you feeling like you're no longer a whole human being, that is dreadful suffering. But the the trauma, that what leaves you to be a broken human being, so to speak, is something that people that have endured such suffering, that people that have been subjected to torture, for example, and other such terrible levels of suffering, that is something that they need to deal with for the rest of their lives. The worst thing about such ordeals is having to live with them afterwards. The ordeal themselves is usually experienced as a disjointed, almost surreal or unreal experience by the people who have endured it. It's the having to live with it afterwards that is the problem. But if this is your death, then that doesn't arise. There is no having to live with it afterwards. There is no trauma to try and cope with after the ordeal. There is, as far as you are concerned, no after the ordeal. So while the suffering and screaming agony that may be part of your particular death is certainly not something that anybody in their right mind would be looking forward to, I would also say it is not something that you necessarily need to unduly fear. Yes, if that is your lot, if that is what's going to happen to you, you will suffer terribly as you die. But at least you will not be there to be traumatized by it. And that, in a weird, morbid sort of way, is a little bit of consolation to be had. But it might never happen. And that's the most important thing. It might never happen. So don't spend your life fretting and worrying about something that might never happen. Life is for living, not for trembling in fear, in anticipation of no longer existing. And that's the message I want to leave you with at the end of this second video.